Okay, so now that we've done our 4 thumbnail sketches, we are going to talk today about drawing our final copy for our sketch for our Shapes and Lines project. And then once we've done that, we'll talk about coloring it using colored pencils, or if you're at home, you can use markers or crayons or whatever you happen to have around. So I have done my 4 thumbnail sketches here. It's just on 2 sides of this blank white piece of paper, and I've decided on one that I like. So when we drew our thumbnail sketches, we were focusing on creating that strong focal point. So we use the convergence of shapes, overlapping of shapes, lines that converge, and we're trying to draw the eye to that one spot on our paper. Hopefully that spot is not right in the middle. It should be off to the side or off center somewhere according to the rule of thirds. So this is the design that I've chosen for my final copy. So now what I need to think about is drawing that final design on a larger sheet of paper. And I'm just going to turn my sketchbook here to the side. If you don't have a sketchbook, use another piece of just regular computer paper, works great. So with my sketchbook here turned to the side, now I'm ready to start thinking about actually making this my final design. So now's the time when I want to start thinking about things that I can trace to get perfect circles. So I've kind of collected a couple items here that I thought had good circle sizes. So kind of a small, medium, large circle inside of a tape roll works good too. I also want to get a ruler so that I can make sure to make straight lines for some of the lines that are supposed to be straight in my composition here. So when I'm thinking about this, I want to think about this space, how I've utilized this space and making it larger so that it actually fills up my larger piece of paper. So any shape that's here on my sketch needs to for sure be larger on my final piece of paper. So even this tape here is kind of like almost not quite big enough. I wonder if maybe like the top of this cup here might be a little bit bigger. So maybe we'll use the top of this cup for my tracer for that biggest circle. I have a couple big circles. I think that probably this circle shape here looks to be about double the size of some of these smaller circles or more medium-sized circles that I have on my paper. So you want to kind of think about doubling the size of anything that you have on this sketch when you put it on your final copy. And then with placement, I'm just going to try and come as close as I can with the placement of my design onto my final paper. So when I go ahead and trace like this first circle here, right down here on the bottom, kind of like sort of like left corner, I'm going to try and place that tracer so that I'm in the same spot almost as when I created my sketch. I'm just trying to be a little bit more precise with it. So looking at that circle, it looks to be maybe about double the size almost of this circle here. When I look at it in the space as a whole, it seems to be taking up a good amount of space. So I'm pretty happy with that. I think I'm going to use this tape roll then to trace this next circle here that kind of goes off the page. So it should overlap with my first circle. And I'll trace that in there as well. And then I actually have one more that I can probably trace with this tape tracer up here at the top. There we go. So now I'm looking for kind of my smaller circles here. I have one here. Maybe I'll just trace the bottom of this that I can trace for, oops, I gotta overlap it for my kind of more medium circle here. And then I'm going to try flipping this over for this next one. So I've got one circle kind of way over here to the right. And try to make it easier on myself to trace. That seemed to work a little bit better. Okay, so I've got my circles. Now I'm ready for my lines. So again, as I'm creating my lines, I'm just going to try and consider the space that I'm trying to fill. So I'm looking first for kind of an easy place to start. So I'm thinking maybe that like this line would be an easy place to follow, kind of in the middle here as a good starting point. I can see where it ends, see where it begins. That seems to be about right, so I'll hold on to my ruler and try and replicate that sketch as best as I can. So there's that first line. And then I'll try and change this angle here to replicate a little bit of that angled effect that I did on this next line here. And I almost am done with this little section. I've got one more part to do, and it is this top part that just kind of grazes the edge here of this circle. Okay, so I would go then in and add some of these triangles here. I would finish adding my stripes here in the background. I'm almost there, but you get the idea. So once I have this then drawn on my final sheet of paper and I'm happy with it, then I'm going to go ahead and color this in. So we'll talk more about coloring next class, but you are going to color it in with approximately the color scheme that you'd like. So thinking about like warm and cool colors, how you're going to create a focal point with your colors. So my color scheme here is warm, kind of where I want those circles to come out at the viewer. And then it's cool in the background where I want those colors to recede a little bit and not be competing so much for attention. So again, we'll talk more about colors next time, but know that you are going to color your final copy with colored pencils or some kind of coloring material that you have at home, just to give yourself an idea of your color scheme before we move on to actually watercolor.